The year 1948 is not a biblical sign for the return of Jesus. Hello, everyone. This is Anne. I hope you are doing well today. I want to say welcome to all of my new subscribers. I am so very happy to have you here on my channel. I value your comments and questions, so please let me hear from you often and feel free to communicate with your fellow subscribers in the comments section. Just remember to be polite and respectful with everyone. Okay, let's get started for today. My topic today is the year 1948 is not a biblical sign for the return of Jesus, and Jesus will cut down the 1948 fig tree. So please, if you are teaching that 1948 is a sign for the return of Jesus, beware and do not be caught under the falling limbs and branches to come. Where did this date of 1948 come from? On May 14th, 1948, David Ben-Gurion, the head of the Jewish Agency, proclaimed the establishment of the State of Israel. U.S. President Harry S. Truman recognized the new nation on the same day. So there you have it, a new nation, a new Jewish state, all in a day. Who has ever heard of such a thing? Tell me, where was Jesus in all of that? After all, the land belongs to Jesus. He makes that very clear in the Bible. But he was not involved in these decisions. As you go back and review how the Jewish state of Israel was established in 1948, you will see that it had nothing to do with God bringing his people back to their homeland. It was all about colonization and establishing a political state for displaced people called the European Jews. This was not done by the hand of God, but by David Ben-Gurion, who was the head of the Jewish Agency, which is a political group. Here are a few questions we need to answer. 1. How did this date, 1948, become a biblical sign of the end times? 2. How did this date become the date that everyone calls the great end time sign? They call it the date which establishes the fact that God's people have returned to their homeland. So all prophecy going forward is based on that magical 1948 date when the State of Israel was established. This is very controversial for many reasons. Even most Christians believe this date is the beginning of the time, which points to the near return of Jesus. They think that the Israelites have returned to their homeland. They like to connect this date to the Daniel chapter 9 prophecy. The Israelites are composed of 12 tribes. The 1948 state only addressed one tribe, the Jews. There are still 11 tribes scattered amongst the nations who make up the children of Israel of the Bible. I do not want to get too deep, so I will cut the questions off here. There are many other questions that could be brought up, but we will keep things brief. I will tell you about this date, but before I get to that, I want to make one thing perfectly clear, and that is that the formation of the political state of Israel is not the sign that Jesus told us to watch for. The date, 1948, has no significance in Bible prophecy, and if you are using this date to compute or understand any end-time prophecy, you will go wrong. You have my 100% assurance of that. Let me explain how we got to this point with 1948. Let's go to our Bible in the book of Matthew chapter 24, verses 32. There is what is called the parable of the fig tree. Let's read it. Learn a parable of the fig tree. When his branch is yet tender and putted forth leaves, you know that summer is nigh. So likewise ye, when ye shall see all these things, know that it is near, even at the doors. Verse 34. Verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass till all these things be fulfilled. It is being taught by Christian pastors all over the world that the establishment of the political state of Israel in 1948 is the fulfillment of this parable. This is not true. First of all, this is a parable and not prophecy. This parable is fulfilled every year by not only fig trees, but all types of trees. Also, this same parable is taught in other verses in the Bible. It is not a prophecy, but is a teaching tool. This parable is to teach you how to discern time, not to associate a time or a date as to when a nation will be established or gain its independence. Christian pastors, I expected more from you, and you can mark my word, you will stand before Jesus and will have to give an account for your teaching on this topic. You say that you know him and you know his word, but for deception he will tell you, "Depart from me, I never knew you," because of this one lie, that is, that the Israelites returned to their homeland in 1948. The whole world is deceived and blinded. And the poor blinded sheep who sit under you, false teaching pastors, they will not be able to discern the truth when God sends the real end time sign. And that is because they have trusted you, but you led them astray by the false teachings of the enemy. Don't you know that the enemy has infiltrated all Christian churches and that you are teaching the enemy doctrines? They compensate you well to have you teach what they give you, but Jesus wants no part of the bribe money you accepted to deceive his sheep. Hear this, lying pastors and false teachers. You will be held accountable for your part in this deception. Now, I want to be very clear with you about what I am talking about. I am talking about the fact that the 1948 date is being used as the date when the time of the end started. This is not the correct date that should be used because this is not a God-given or God-sanctioned date. You know where you got this lie from? Yes, I said it is a lie. And you know who is paying you to teach it from your pulpits, to spread it all over your churches and to your followers. You know that Satan is behind this lie because he is the father of all lies. I am pleading with you now to heed my warnings and repent for what you have been doing concerning this date. You still have time to correct what you have done in the past and tell people the truth. This video will disclose what the true end time sign is that God has given us. Receive the truth and go forth and teach it. The end time sign that God has given us is the birth of the man-child of Revelation 12. The event that happened in 1948 with the establishment of the modern state of Israel was not the end time sign as it has been taught for many years. That was a political event brought on by Great Britain and the United States in favor of a displaced people who have no connections to biblical history. The counterfeit fig tree nation that you saw bud in 1948 is not the nation that you should be watching. That nation was not gathered by God but by man, and therefore you cannot apply God's prophetic scriptures to it. It was not the work of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and it will not stand. I am not going to spend a lot of time expounding on the fall of this counterfeit nation because it will fall in God's time, and the fall will be apparent to all. God is not defending this counterfeit nation, and it is written in his word that it will fail. See Daniel 11 verse 14. So what is the major point that I want you to get from this video? I want you to understand that what happened in 1948 with the establishment of the political state of Israel is not an end time sign that has been set forth by the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. If you are using this date to calculate any prophetic events for the future, you will fail because garbage in means you get garbage out. The date of the end sign that God has given us is found in Revelation chapter 12, and it is the birth of the man-child of Revelation 12 verse 5. The man-child was born on November 2nd, 2024, and his birth marks the beginning of the end of days, which will run for 70 years starting at November 2nd, 2024. I have done many videos on the birth of the man-child, and I invite you to go to my channel and seek out those videos. That is all that I have for now, but please feel free to leave comments or ask me any questions if you have any. Shalom until next time.